All right. Well, we had a couple more people who are starting to pop in now, but good morning, everybody. I hope everybody had a good Monday. Today is the last Tuesday, and yes, I'm probably going to do this every day, but this is the last Tuesday before you're all back in class. So next week, you will all be in here at this time in my classroom at 8 a.m. Well, half of you will. Half of you will be coming in the afternoon session, but still, the point is that how you will be here in this class next Tuesday if you are not signing up. And just a reminder that Friday is the last day to sign up for the virtual learning if you want to continue that. So you'll need to reach out to your counselor if you are interested in that. If you are planning on coming to school, you don't have to do anything. Basically, the default is everyone is coming back to school unless you say something. So if you want to do virtual learning, like I said, you need to talk to your counselor about that. I assume you would just go through them. So you should probably email them. But that would be your best bet. I think that they might have sent out a link. I know they had like an informational meeting last night that they sent out on Remind. So I don't think that it was mandatory necessarily to go to that meeting. I think it was just giving information about what it would look like. But again, it seemed like most people said in the little quiz thing yesterday that it wasn't really a quiz, but it was just getting your opinion. But um, it seemed like most people are coming back, but there's I would say maybe a third of each of my classes said that they were probably going to continue virtual learning. Some of it was their preference, some of it was their parents' preference, some of it was because of health issues that students might have. Some of the issues were like family related of who they live with and how it could affect them. So I totally get it. But just know that again, whether you decide to go virtual, even though I may not be, your teacher anymore, if you ever need anything, because you'll probably not be on my remind anymore, you could still email me and I'll just put my email in the chat right here. I mean, it's on Canvas too, but if you ever need anything from me, it is. So I'm hoping that they said there might be some changes depending on class size, but it sounds like that they might be able to accommodate everybody. So hopefully there won't be too many class changes. Like I said, I personally in my class, I have enough people or I have enough desks and chairs and space to accommodate half of the class, so we should be good. Are there any questions about next week before we get started? Remember, Monday is the same schedule that we've been doing all this whole semester. So it does start at 10 a.m. online on Monday, no matter which option you choose. But are there any questions other than that? No questions about next week's schedule or coming back or anything like that? Just want to make sure before we move on that we're good. Okay, and just a reminder that we are going to be doing stuff in class today. So if you are not participating or not responsive, again, you will be marked absent. It's the same thing I've been saying all year. So just again, if you're not at your iPad and you're not responsive, I don't know that you're actually in class. So please make sure that you are participating today. We are going to be reading Act 3, Scene 2, the most important scene of the play, arguably, even though some people might say it's Caesar's death. A lot of people say that actually the probably most climactic or most important scene of the play is this one that we're about to read. So what it's going to involve is Brutus versus Antony, not like in a fist match, like this, no fist fights, but it's basically going to be a rhetorical standoff. So it's basically going to be Brutus, if again, it's been a couple weeks since we read Act 3, Scene 1, but Julius Caesar obviously was killed. Antony comes in and says, hey, all I want to do is speak at his funeral to everybody. And Brutus says, yeah, sure. We'll give Caesar all the proper like burial, like ceremonies and stuff. You can speak at his funeral. And Cassius is like, I don't know if that's such a good idea. Maybe we should rethink this. It's probably gonna, come back to bite us. And Brutus is like, no, we're gonna let him do it. We want to honor Caesar, so we're gonna let him do that, even though they stabbed him like 23 times. So but obviously Brutus is going to be Brutus is going to speak first to the public and explain why they killed him, because Caesar was beloved, but so is Brutus. So that's why the conspirators recruited Brutus to be part of the conspiracy, because they knew that he was their best shot of convincing the public that what they did was noble, because the public thinks that Brutus is noble. Antony's got to come afterwards and basically upset the apple cart, which means he's going to like throw everything off its axis. He's going to mess everything up for the conspirators and get everybody riled up. Even though all he's supposed to do is speak positively of Caesar, and he starts off that way for the most part, but he takes little jabs here and there at the conspirators until at the very end, he's basically just calling them out. All right, so that's what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch screens. Again, you don't have to like open up the text. You could just follow along on my screen as we're reading. We're going to be playing the audio. I'll be stopping it periodically. So again, I know some of you have said in the past that you struggle with understanding Caesar. If you're paying attention during class, that's why I try to stop it, here and there to kind of explain what's happening. So if you're actually paying attention, you should be able to understand it for the most part. Okay, even if you don't understand the language 100%, you should be able to have a good idea what's going on. All right, let me go ahead and switch screens. Let me just get the text set up again. Okay. So X3, Scene 2, we're in Rome still. It's the Forum. The Forum is basically, they're just going to be like in front of the Capitol, and it's going to be a big crowd, essentially. All right. So here we go.
And give me audience, friends. Cassius, go you into the other street and part the numbers. Those that will hear me speak, let them stay here. Those that will follow Cassius, go with him. And public reason shall be rendered of Caesar's death.
I will hear Brutus speak. I will hear Cassius and compare their reasons when separately we hear them render it. The noble Brutus is ascended! Silence!
Be patient till the last. Romans, countrymen, and lovers, hear me for my cause, and be silent that you may hear. Believe me for mine honor, and have respect to mine honor, that you may believe. Censure me in your wisdom, and awake your senses that you may the better judge.
Okay, so when it says citizens, first citizen, second citizen, third citizen, if we were watching a play, not the movie, because in the movie they could hire a bunch of extras. Remember, in a play, they're more limited in space, so they can't have as many people on stage at once. But imagine there was like 3 or 4 citizens, right? So where it says citizens, you would have all 4 of those characters like kind of like talking at the same time, basically, or like how it's in the background, like making just random noise, like pretending like they're talking, so it sounds like they're having conversations, but not overwhelming the rest of what's being said. So Brutus, at the very bottom, if you look, it says, be patient till the last. Romans, countrymen, and lovers. Remember that lovers is just a substitute for friends, essentially. Hear me for my cause. So again, literally his cause is his will, what he wants to say, and be silent that you may hear. Believe me for mine honor, and have respect to mine honor, that you may believe. Censure me in your wisdom, and awake your senses that you may be the better judge. So basically he's saying, respect my honor, and believe me, um, trust me in your wisdom, and awake your senses. So basically be very like aware as you're listening to me, and like make sure that you're paying attention so that you can be a fair judge to what I'm about to say.
If there be any in this assembly, any dear friend of Caesar's, to him I say that Brutus' love to Caesar was no less than his. If then that friend demand why Brutus rose against Caesar, this is my answer. Not that I loved Caesar less, but that I loved Rome more. Had you rather Caesar were living and die all slaves, than that Caesar were dead to live all free men? Free men! Free men! As Caesar loved me.
So just kind of be aware that this speech and Antony's speech, you guys are going to be writing about these two speeches in the essay that we're going to do. Like I said, we're not going to be starting the essay really until after spring break. We might do a couple of things to get prepared for the essay next week when you guys come back, but just know that we're not going to be doing like Antony, like even though I kind of painted it as this is Antony versus Brutus in the scene, the point of the essay is going to be, again, which rhetorical strategies were most effective in convincing the people of Rome, or which ones were the most effective in being persuasive. So even though Antony is going to be the one that ultimately convinced them, Brutus is convincing too. It's just that Antony convinces them afterwards. Maybe if Brutus had gone second, he would have like won the people over, but he didn't. So you're going to pick, like, let's say you do scare tactics, right? For one of your body paragraphs, you would show two examples of how scare tactics were used. So you could use a scare tactic from Brutus's speech and a scare tactic from Antony's speech. It doesn't have to be from one character. You don't have to prove that one character was more effective than the other. You're just talking about which strategies were used that were effective. Okay, so like I said, if you saw a scare tactic, so like we just came across one right now saying that had you rather Caesar were living and die all slaves than that Caesar were dead to live all free men? So would you rather live at free, or would you rather die in bondage as slaves, as prisoners to Caesar? So again, and he talks about how he loved Caesar less, or he loved Caesar, but he loved Caesar less, and he loved Rome more. So what would that be an example of? What type of rhetorical strategy is that? You guys could type that in the chat, please, so I know we're all present. Jesus, very good. Joanna, yes. You don't have to put the question mark. Chloe, don't put the question. Be confident in your answers. Don't ask me, tell me. Yes, but Joanna, Chloe, Aaron, you're right. When he says he loved Caesar less but loved Rome more, what is that? What type of rhetorical strategy is that? And this is just a one-word answer. You don't need a like type of full-on sentence, but I do need everyone to respond. Joshua, yes. So Miguel, yes, he does care about the people, but what people does he care about? Again, so like what type of strategy is it when you care about the people of one country? Ricardo, good. Alexander, Ryan, thank you for responding. Miguel, thank you for responding. Daniel, again, pick a strategy from one of the rhetorical strategies that we've covered. Camilla, good. Okay. Aaron, thank you for your response. Okay, so while you could make an argument for some of the things that you did, I would say that the more accurate rhetorical strategy would be patriotism. Just because, again, if you're talking about a country and your love of a country, that goes to patriotism. So he's talking about how he loves Caesar. He loves Caesar, but he loves Caesar less than he loves Rome. So again, that's a direct appeal to his like love of country, and he's appealing to his audience's love of their country as well. So again, just remember that patriotism is when you're talking about like how you love your country, and it doesn't have to be, America or anything. It could be Rome, it could be, Kenya, it could be China, it could be any country. All right, let's go ahead and continue though. Again, there's going to be definitely more rhetorical strategies that pop up. So just kind of be ready to respond in the chat.
I weep for him. As he was fortunate, I rejoice at it. As he was valiant, I honor him. But as he was ambitious, I slew him. There is tears for his love, joy for his fortune, honor for his valor, and death for his ambition. Who is here so base that would be a bondman? If any speak, for him have I offended. Who is here so rude that would not be a Roman? If any speak, for him have I offended. Who is here so vile that will not love his country? If any speak, for him have I offended. I pause for a reply.
Okay, so at that very last part, now this isn't a rhetorical strategy, so sarcasm isn't a rhetorical strategy, but he is being sarcastic at the end. He's not being serious. Who here is so base that would be a bondman? When you call somebody base, you're basically calling him dumb. So who here is so stupid that they would be a prisoner? If any speak, for him have I offended. So it's like, if you're so dumb that you would be a prisoner, go ahead and say something, because I've obviously offended you. Who here is so rude that would not be a Roman? Again, talking about Romans, so think about what rhetorical strategy that is. If any speak, for him have I offended. Who here is so vile, which means if you're vile, it means you're like evil, disgusting, that would not love his country. If any speak, for him have I offended. I pause for a reply. So he's basically like, it's like almost like it's not a rhetorical question. Well, there are rhetorical questions. He knows nobody's going to say, I'm so stupid that I want to be a prisoner, or I'm so evil that I would hate my country, so he's making him say like, if you love your country as much as I do, you would know that what I did was justified, basically. All right, so let's go ahead and continue to see what else Brutus has to say.
Have I offended? I have done no more to Caesar than you shall do to Brutus. The question of his death is enrolled in the Capitol. His glory not extenuated, wherein he was worthy, nor his offences enforced, for which he suffered death. Here comes his body, mourned by Mark Antony, who, though he had no hand in his death, shall receive the benefit of his dying, a place in the Commonwealth, as which of you shall not? With this I depart, that as I slew my best lover for the good of Rome, I have the same dagger for myself, when it shall please my country to need my death.
Bring him with triumph home unto his house! Give him a statue with his ancestors! Let him be Caesar! Caesar's better parts shall be crowned in Brutus. We'll bring him to his house with shouts and clamours.
My countrymen!
Peace, silence! Brutus speaks!
Peace, home! Good countrymen, let me depart alone, and for my sake stay here with Antony. Do grace to Caesar's corpse, and grace his speech tending to Caesar's glories, which Mark Antony, by our permission, is allowed to make. I do entreat you, not a man depart save I alone, till Antony have spoken.
Okay. So Brutus is done. He's exiting. He's leaving the scene. So obviously at this point, it seems like he's won everybody over. He said, sorry, 1 second. He says that he would give himself like the same dagger that he gave Caesar and he would expect his country basically to do the same thing to him if he ever like got too powerful. Again, lots of images of Rome. So as I slew my best lover, again, best friend for the good of Rome, I have the same dagger for myself. So that's again, the combination that could be patriotism because of Rome. It could be ethos because he's showing credibility. Like, I killed my best friend, I'll kill myself too if it was for the good of Rome. So, all right, for those of you who are popping in late, just make sure that you remind me to change attendance. I'm not going to change it right now while we're in the middle of this, so just remind me later. Anyways, so now remember, he is giving permission to Antony and to speak about Caesar's death and all the good things that Caesar has done. So he's giving grace to Caesar. Kind of remember too at the beginning sorry, somebody's saying something. Yeah, I know. Like I said, just remind me later. I'll change the attendance after we're done with this part. So if you were late, just remind me later so I don't forget. But anyways, remember at the beginning, what were Morellus and Flavius upset with the people about? So that was from Act 1, Scene 1. They were talking to the cobbler, the shoemaker, the shoe repairman, and like, why were they upset with all the people about like how they were celebrating Caesar? What part of it made them mad? So again, why were Morellus and Flavius in Act 1, Scene 1 upset with the cobbler and the other Romans about Caesar and the festival that they were throwing for him? Yep, Josh, you got it. Camilla, Chloe, yep. Okay, but Joanna, why though? You're right, but why? Well, Morellus and Flavius, Miguel, you're probably right. We're upset that he had too much power. But again, think about like what they were celebrating his defeat of. You know, they're celebrating his triumph or victory over something. What was that? Or whom? Yes, Alexander, you got it. Keep them coming. We're doing good, guys. Again, who was defeated that Morellus and Flavius were upset about the Roman people's response? Yes, Joanna, thank you. That's much better. So yeah, basically the issue was at the beginning of the play that Morellus and Flavius, before they were put to silence, were upset with the Roman people for celebrating the defeat of Pompey because they said that you used to celebrate Pompey's triumphs. You would go to the battlements. You would, go to the highest tower just to see him. Yeah, it was Caesar's friend, Daniel. Yes, exactly. So, but basically they were saying that like you're celebrating you're celebrating the death of a man you used to like celebrate his life. And now like, look at you guys are so quick to change sides, First Pompey was great. Now Caesar's great and Pompey is trash. And so we are going to be seeing, again, they loved Caesar. Now they're saying Caesar was a tyrant. Brutus should be Caesar, so Brutus should be the king. He should be the leader. So, yep. So basically, again, they're switching sides, and there's one more switch that we're going to be seeing. So here we go.
Stay all, and let us hear Mark Antony. Let him go up into the public chair. We'll hear him. Noble Antony, go up.
For Brutus' sake, I am beholding to you.
What does he say of Brutus? He says for Brutus' sake, he finds himself beholden to us all. We're best to speak no harm of Brutus here. This Caesar was a tyrant. That's certain. We are blessed that Rome is rid of him. Peace, let us hear what Antony can say.
You gentle Romans. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones. So let it be with Caesar. The noble Brutus hath told you Caesar was ambitious. If it was so, it was a grievous fault, and grievously hath Caesar answered it. Here, under leave of Brutus and the rest, for Brutus is an honorable man, so are they all honorable men, come I to speak in Caesar's funeral. He was my friend, faithful and just to me. But Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. He hath brought many captives home to Rome, whose ransoms did the general coffers fill. Did this in Caesar seem ambitious? When that the poor have cried, Caesar hath wept. Ambition should be made of sterner stuff. Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. You all did see that on the Lupercal I thrice presented him a kingly crown, which he did thrice refuse. Was this ambition? Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and sure he is an honorable man. I speak not to disprove what Brutus spoke, but here I am to speak what I do know. You all did love him once, not without cause. What cause withholds you then to mourn for him? Oh, judgment, thou art fled to brutish beasts, and men have lost their reason. Bear with me. My heart is in the coffin there with Caesar, and I must pause till it come back to me. Methinks.
Okay, so what Antony has said so far is, first of all, you've probably all heard the phrase, and maybe you haven't heard it exactly, but some variation of it. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. Well, this is the origin of that. So again, another famous line from this play that gets repeated a lot. But basically, he says that he keeps referring to Brutus as noble, and him and the conspirators as honorable. Obviously, he's being sarcastic to a certain point. Again, while that's not a rhetorical strategy, it's just important to know that he's, even though he's saying these things, he's not actually meaning them. And so now what he's doing, and somebody had asked me yesterday, I don't think it was from this class, but why do you have to use evidence or quotes in your writing? Or is writing essays important to real life? And while this isn't an essay, he is using a lot of strategies in here that would be beneficial, that are skills that you get from writing essays, and that's using evidence. So he's basically saying that the whole reason why Brutus and the conspirators killed Caesar is because he was too ambitious. He wanted too much power, and he was basically, doing everything he can to get as much power and disregarding the Roman people. So now what Antony is doing is he's giving different examples, different pieces of evidence to show that, hey, so they're saying he's ambitious, but this is what he actually did. Did this seem ambitious? So one of the things, sorry, I had some people who are getting kicked out, unfortunately, that he brought many captives home to Rome. So basically, during war, he captured many people, held them for ransom against the other countries that he was going against, and he filled the general coffer. So basically, the all the money that goes towards the city, he basically put all the money that he got from the ransom of people in towards the city of Rome, not towards himself. So he's saying, does that seem ambitious? Was this ambitious to you that he did this? When the poor have cried, so when you have suffered in like hardship, Caesar has wept. And then he says ambition should be made of sterner stuff. If he was ambitious, he would be more stern. He wouldn't have cried for the fact that you were suffering. But yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. And then you all did see on the Lupercal, which is the race that Antony participated in when Cassius and Brutus snuck off to have their little conversation. And then I thrice presented him a kingly crown, which he did thrice refuse. So I gave him a crown 3 times, and he said no each time. Was this ambition? Yet Brutus says he was ambitious and sure. And you'll notice he adds that sure, and that changes the meaning a lot. Because he didn't just say, and he is an honorable man. He's like, sure, he's an honorable man, I guess. But I speak not to disprove what Brutus spoke, but here I am to speak what I do know. You all used to love him, and you had reason to. It says not without cause. So you had reason to love him. So what is the reason now that you don't mourn for him? So why are you calling him a tyrant when you used to say you loved him? What is causing you to act this way? So that's basically where we're at in that. But does anybody have any questions so far? Is there anything? I don't want to move too fast through this because again, this is what we're going to be writing about for the essay. Is there any part like that you need me to like go back to? Any lines or anything that you need me to like explain that we don't get? Because I don't want people to say like next time we meet like I have no idea what's happening or I don't know what they said, blah blah blah. So tell me now. And you can unmute if you need to unmute if it's quicker. Shall I go on?
There is much reason in his sayings.
If thou consider rightly of the matter, Caesar's had great wrong.
As he masters, I feel there were worse come in his place.
Mark ye his words, he would not take the crown, therefore 'tis certain he was not ambitious.
If it be found so, some will dear avoid it.
Poor soul, his eyes are red as fire with weeping.
There's not a nobler man in Rome than Antony.
Now mark him, he begins again to speak.
But yesterday, the word of Caesar might have stood against the world. Now lies he there, and none so poor to do him reverence. Oh, masters, if I were disposed to stir your hearts and minds to mutiny and rage, I should do Brutus wrong and Cassius wrong, who you all know are honorable men. I will not do them wrong. I rather choose to wrong the dead, to wrong myself and you, than I will wrong such honorable men. But here's a parchment with the seal of Caesar. I found it in his closet. 'Tis his will. Let but the commons hear this testament, which, pardon me, I do not mean to read. And they would go and kiss dead Caesar's wounds and dip their napkins in his sacred blood. Yea, beg a hair of him for memory, and dying mention it within their wills, bequeathing it as a rich legacy unto their issue. We'll hear the will! The will!
Okay, so let's break down what he just said. So one of the lines like is, oh, masters, if I were disposed to stir your hearts and minds to mutiny and rage, I should do Brutus and Cassius wrong. So he's basically saying what he's thinking. He's saying like he wants to cause mutiny and rage, but not saying it's like, oh, if I were to cause you to mutiny, which means to rebel, if I were to cause a rebellion, I would be doing Brutus and Cassius wrong. It's like, well, nobody's mentioned a rebellion except you, Antony. So obviously that's what you're wanting from everybody. But he also says to himself, when I was, he found a parchment with the seal of Caesar. He found it in Caesar's closet, which to me is convenient. And, you know, some people can make the argument that maybe Antony made it up, but you could also, most people say that the will is true, that he did find a will, but so he's about to read Caesar's will. You know, if he dies, this is what he wants. So, and obviously he knows probably what's on it, but you would have to think that if he didn't know what was on it, if it truly was a will that was made by Caesar and it was sealed up and he had never opened it before, that how would Antony even know what was on it? So, you know, that's kind of the case against it being maybe real. But like I said, we're not going to be writing about that. I always just find that kind of interesting. It's like, oh, well, it's very convenient that you found a will and you know exactly what's on it and you're about to read it to the people. Because what if it was like showing that he truly was ambitious? Like, screw you, Romans, I'm off to do my own thing or something, or like all my money goes to my wife Calpurnia, you don't get anything. So obviously Antony probably at least had some idea. Maybe he was there when he made the will. I don't know. But anyways, so he's about to read it, and obviously he's saying that I shouldn't read this, but you know, I'm probably going to. So all right, let's keep going. Oops.
Have patience, gentle friends, I must not read it. It is not meet you know how Caesar loved you. You are not wood, you are not stones, but men. And being men, hearing the will of Caesar, it will inflame you, it will make you mad. 'Tis good you know not that you are his heirs. For if you should, oh, what would come of it?
Read the will! You shall read us the will! Caesar's will!
Will you be patient? Will you stay a while? I have o'ershot myself to tell you of it. I fear I wrong the honorable men whose daggers have stabbed Caesar. I do fear it. They were traitors.
Okay. All right. So one of the things that Antony said at the very top here, I must not read it. It is not meet you know how Caesar loved you, which basically means like it wouldn't be good for you to know how much Caesar loved you. You're not wood, you're not stone, you are men. And being men and not like some object, if you heard Caesar's will, it would enrage you, it would make you mad, it would make you it's good that you know that you're not his heirs, which obviously he just like let slip, you know, on purpose, because he's saying you're his heirs to all of his riches. So it's a good thing you don't know that you're getting everything he left behind. If you knew that, man, you would be really mad about what these people did. And then, you know, they're like, of course, read the will. We want to know what we get, kind of thing. And then Antony, if I fear I do wrong these honorable men, if I read this, you know, this would be terrible, because then you would be mad at them, and I don't want that. And so now you could start to see that the citizens are starting to turn on them. Now they're traitors, you know. First they were honorable, they were noble, they were wanting to make Brutus Caesar. Now he's a traitor, like in the span of like 5 minutes. So, all right, let's keep going.
You will compel me then to read the will? Then make a ring about the corpse of Caesar, and let me show you him that made the will. Shall I descend? Will you give me leave?
Come down! Descend! You shall have leave!
A ring, stand round!
Stand from the earth! Stand from the body! Run for Antony, most noble!
Nay, press not so upon me, stand far off. If you have tears, prepare to shed them now.
You all do know this mantle. I remember the first time ever Caesar put it on. It was on a summer's evening in his tent. That day he overcame the nervii. Look, in this place ran Cassius' dagger through. See what a rent the envious Casca made. Through this the well-beloved Brutus stabbed. As he plucked his cursed steel away, mark how the blood of Caesar followed it, as rushing out of doors to be resolved if Brutus so unkindly knocked or no. For Brutus, as you know, was Caesar's angel. Judge, O you gods, how dearly Caesar loved him. This was the most unkindest cut of all. For when the noble Caesar saw him stab, ingratitude, more strong than traitor's arms, quite vanquished him. Then burst his mighty heart, and in his mantle muffling up his face, even at the base of Pompey's statua, which all the while ran blood, great Caesar fell. Oh, what a fall was there, my countrymen. Then I and you and all of us fell down, whilst bloody treason flourished over us. Oh, now you weep, and I perceive you feel the dint of pity. These are gracious drops. Kind souls, what weep you when you but behold our Caesar's vesture wounded? Look you here, here is himself, marred as you see with traitors!
Spectacle! Oh, noble Caesar! Oh,
Okay. First of all, where was Antony when Caesar was killed? Let's get some responses going, everyone. Where was Antony when he was killed? Okay, let me rephrase it. Was he there when he was killed? Was he with the senators when he was killed? Daniel, Josh, thank you. Camilla, thank you. Again, everybody needs to be responding. If you're not responding, you will be marked absent because, again, you guys need to be participating. Brian, that's okay. Thank you for responding, though. So Miguel, I was saying that I was asking if if Antony was with Caesar when he was killed. Still need a few more of you to respond. It's a yes or no question. Was Antony with Caesar when Caesar was killed? Okay, thank you, Miguel. No, because he wasn't, remember, Antony arrived afterwards. You know, his servant came to say, like, hey, my master Antony wants to come talk to you, but he wants to make sure that he isn't killed if he comes talk to you. Is he cool? And so, again, so he obviously wasn't there when it happened. So the reason why I'm bringing that up is that if you guys look on this page here on the left, he talks about, like, where Cassius's dagger ran through, and look at the mess that Casca made when he stabbed him. And this stab wound was the most cruel stab wound of them all, because it was where Brutus stabbed him. Now, he has no idea that that's where all those people stabbed him. You know, he just knew that they were involved, so he's making it up. You know, it's like, oh, Brutus stabbed him here, Casca, but the people don't know that he wasn't there. They don't know that he didn't see it happen. So again, the point is he's putting names to the stab wounds, and that's going to make them even more angry, which again, anger is an emotion, which would be an example of one of our rhetorical strategies. So keep that in mind. Just because I don't want you guys to say emotion, I want you to say anger. What specific emotion? So, and then he goes on about like how, oh, Caesar or Brutus was Caesar's angel, you know, Caesar loved Brutus so much. This was, you know, such a terrible act of treachery. And basically he's kind of like got them now. And then at the very end it says, look you here, and we'll see it better in the video when we watch the video. Probably we're going to watch it on Thursday. We're going to watch the rest of Act 3, and then we'll watch the rest of the movie next week before we go on spring break. But probably before we go to spring break. But anyways, he says, look you here is himself marred as you see with traitor. So he like basically he's like covered up with like a blanket, and then he like removes the blanket to show like all of his like stab wounds. So like I said, it'll like be a lot easier to kind of visualize when we watch the movie, but we're almost done with this. So let's go ahead and finish up the act, or the scene, I should say. The act's not quite done.
Awful day of traitors, villains! Almost bloody sight! We will be revenged!
Stay, countrymen! Peace there! Hear the noble Antony!
We'll hear! We'll follow him! We'll die with him!
Friends, sweet friends, let me not stir you up to such a sudden flood of mutiny. They that have done this deed are honourable. What private griefs they have, alas, I know not, that made them do it. They are wise and honourable, and will no doubt, with reasons, answer you. I come not, friends, to steal away your hearts. I am no orator, as Brutus is, but as you know me all, a plain, blunt man that loved my friend, and that they know full well that gave me public leave to speak of him. For I have neither wit, nor words, nor worth, action, nor utterance, nor the power of speech to stir men's blood. I only speak right on. I tell you that which you yourselves do know. Show you sweet Caesar's wounds. Poor dumb mouths, and bid them speak for me. But were I Brutus, and Brutus Antony, there where an Antony would ruffle up your spirits and put a tongue in every wound of Caesar that should move the stones of Rome to rise and mutiny.
Will you burn the house of Brutus?
How cease the conspirator!
Yet hear me, countrymen, yet hear me speak.
Noble Antony!
Why, friends, you go to do you know not what. Wherein hath Caesar thus deserved your loves? Alas, you know not. I must tell you then, you have forgot the will I told you of. Here is the will, and under Caesar's seal. To every Roman citizen he gives, to every several man, 75 drachmas.
Oh, noble Caesar! We'll revenge his death! Oh, royal Caesar!
Hear me with patience. Cease! Moreover, he hath left you all his walks, his private arbours and new planted orchards on this side Tiber. He hath left them you and to your heirs forever. Common pleasures to walk abroad and recreate yourselves. Here was a Caesar. When comes such another?
Never! Come away! Away! We'll burn his body in the holy place, and with the brands, fire the traitor's hands. Take up the body.
Go fetch fire! Thank you!
Now let it work. Mischief, thou art afoot. Take thou what course thou wilt. How now, fellow?
Sir, Octavius is already come to Rome.
Where is he?
He and Lepidus are at Caesar's house.
And thither will I straight to visit him. He comes upon a wish. Fortune is merry, and in this mood will give us anything.
I heard him say, Brutus and Cassius are rid like madmen through the gates of Rome.
Belike they had some notice of the people. How I had moved them. Bring me to Octavius.
Okay. So that was the end of Act 3, Scene 2. Again, that is going to be the focal point of our next essay. And again, you are going to be talking about which rhetorical strategies were effective in both speeches. So again, you're not comparing who was a better at convincing, because we know Antony obviously is the one who ultimately convinces everyone, but both of them were convincing, because before the people of Rome decided to go against Antony, they had already sided with him, saying that Caesar was a traitor. Caesar was a tyrant, and it was good that they killed him. But then obviously by the end of it, they had, kind of gone against them. So, all right. So just making sure that I didn't miss anything that I need to go over with you. I guess one of the other things is, if you look at here on the left-hand side, he talks about how Brutus was known for his orating abilities, being a good orator, which means like a good speaker. So he's saying that if I was a speaker as Brutus, if I were Brutus and Brutus Antony, then I would be able to get you to like mutiny, which he already is. So he knows what he's doing. He's basically just stirring the pot, and he's getting all the Romans mad and basically ready to take down the conspirators. So if you look at this last page here, he says, after they've all left, all the people, he says, now let it work. Mischief, thou art afoot. Take thou what course thou wilt. So basically, mischief or problems, I've created these problems for the conspirators. Now let it just take its course. Now, Octavius, remember from the video that we watched yesterday, is like his basically almost like Caesar's adopted son. He's really like a cousin of Caesar, but he's going to be the next emperor, the first emperor of Rome, really, because the Republic is now basically dead. This is the start of the Roman Empire. And Octavius, a lot of kings, you may not know this, but a lot of kings actually change their name. And this isn't just a Roman thing. This is like an English thing too. Like a lot of kings will be like King George, but that wasn't their like birth name. They take on the name of another king. So just, that's a little mini history lesson for you. But Octavius has just arrived to Rome. Antony is obviously happy because now he could start formulating plans to get rid of the conspirators. Now, some people argue that both Brutus and Antony were, while Brutus makes the argument that Caesar was ambitious, some people make the argument that Brutus is ambitious, and some people make the argument that Antony is too. Maybe they both wanted power. Maybe that's why Brutus wanted Caesar out of the way. Antony didn't want Caesar out of the way, but obviously he had power through his loyalty through Caesar. But now that Caesar's gone, he's going to try to make a power grab, which this doesn't come up in the play, but like later on, like in historical, like in actual history, Antony and Octavius actually become enemies as well. And Antony is ultimately killed. But like I said, that doesn't happen in the play. That's way after the play. All right, so let me go ahead and put my slides back up. All right, so we have one more scene to read, which we are going to read on Thursday. And then, like I said, we will probably watch Act 3 on Thursday after we're done reading. But we are almost done with the dialectical journals because I told you we're not going to do dialectical journals past Act 3 because we're reading past Act 3. We're only going to be watching. So Acts 4 and 5, we will just watch. And like I said, we will probably watch them next week. Although I don't know, it just kind of depends on time. I might save that for when you guys come back and then almost like a refresher for when you guys get back from spring break. But like I said, it'll just kind of depend on next week where we're at. All right. Okay, so you are going to be doing Act 3, Scene 2, the dialectical journal. That'll be due in a couple of days. Well, not a couple of days. It'll be due tomorrow night. So you'll have today during class. So we have about half an hour in class. I'm going to put you in your breakout rooms with your group. So again, if you could rename yourselves, let me go ahead and let you do that. Okay, so 1, 2, or 3 in front of your name, and I'll put you in the breakout room. After Acts 3, Scene 2, and Scene 3, again, we won't be doing any more dialectical journals, so we'll be done with the journals after this week. And just remember, you can either do 2 pages or several pages. It is your call. Again, to me, it always makes more sense to do a few pages as opposed to a lot, but some of you are just adamantly against working with other people. Sorry, let me just check something real quick. While you guys are numbering, I'm just checking something. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. Okay, Andres, Antoine, Brian, Frank, Freddie, Isaac, and Jesus, you all need a number. There's actually quite a bit of you who need to number yourselves. So you guys need to put numbers in front of your names. Ryan, if you could put it before your name, not after, so that way it like puts you like with your group. Thank you. Brian, Frank, Freddie, Isaac, Julius, Kaloni, Pedro, Aaliyah, and Kathleen. I need you to put numbers in front of your names for which group you're in. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and put you in your breakout rooms. All right. I'm going to go ahead and move you and sorry, I'm just checking something. I noticed somebody is not here anymore, but anyways, all right. If you need anything, call me to your room and I'll help you out. So just let me know. So none of you put numbers. So what's going on? If you can respond, please. Brian, Isaac, Julius, Pedro, Aaliyah, or Kathleen, are any of you there?